While there have definitely been some stinkers along the way, what Disney and Marvel have managed to pull off with the MCU is nothing to scoff at. While other shared universes like the DCEU and Dark Universe have failed to get off the ground at all, the MCU has been quite a sight to behold, somehow managing to tell a story across 22 films in the span of more than a decade of cinema. That all comes to an end with Avengers Endgame though, because while other films have been teased for the future, it has been said that this right here is the culmination of what the studio has been working towards, and anything after that will be something new entirely. Now, before I jump into my, don't worry, spoiler-free review of the film, I'd love to know your thoughts on it if you have seen it. Did you love it, hate it, or something else entirely? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. With that out of the way, let's jump in. Continuing shortly where Avengers Infinity War left off, Endgame sees the universe in ruins, and those who lived through the snap have been left to pick up the broken pieces. In these darkest of times though, when all hope seems lost, one small team of individuals refuses to move on. Assembling once more, the remaining Avengers take one last stand in order to undo Thanos' actions and restore order to the universe. Now, while this is going to be an especially difficult piece of media to review, while keeping things as vague as possible for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, I will still do my very best to touch upon some of the things I liked and disliked about the film. For starters, one thing that I absolutely loved was how epic this whole thing felt. I mean, with this being the grand finale of the so-called Infinity Saga, you want it to go out with a bang. And luckily, the movie delivers. From stakes being the highest they have ever been, to plenty of twists and turns to keep you guessing, and even a climatic showdown in the final act, the movie does not disappoint in making you feel like you are indeed experiencing the payoff of the 21 other films before it. Not only that, but the fan service is through the roof, with something for everyone. No matter which Avenger you're a fan of, they all have their moments to shine and do something cool in the story. However, at the same time, I gotta admit that I also love how personal it all feels. While the movie is indeed a big event full of over-the-top stuff, it is also very grounded and character-driven. Full of emotional scenes, great character interactions, and seeing some character story arcs come to an end, the film also serves as a nice send-off to many characters that fans have grown to love over the many years of the MCU. Well, that is not to say that all of these characters are gone forever, since, they could perhaps pop up here and there in the future. When it comes to the ending that we have right here, right now, I thought it was a very satisfying conclusion, and the way everything was wrapped up was very well done. Now, when it comes to things I didn't like or would call negatives, one thing was the long runtime. While overall the 3-hour long runtime didn't feel bad, and the movie in no way felt like a bore to sit through, I do still think that it could have benefited from shortening some scenes up or taking some scenes out. Super vague example, but I feel like the beginning where the movie is showing us the effects of the snap went on a little too long. I'm sure anyone who is watching this probably already saw Infinity War, so going over all of that and restating what is at stake for everyone felt like it could have been trimmed down quite a bit. Likewise, I'm trying my best to dance around it, but basically in their fight against Thanos, the Avengers use all manner of different powers, and I'll admit that I found myself a bit bothered by how what they could and couldn't do seemed to rely on what the plot needed. Like, why is it that this thing is an issue if you guys seemingly have all this power on your side? Or why did Thing A make Thing B happen if we have been told that stuff doesn't work that way? I know I'm being super vague and probably even nitpicky, since this is the kind of movie where you need to just go with things, but if you watch the movie and see some inconsistencies that bother you when watching it, don't say I didn't warn you. Despite some minor complaints, I still really enjoyed my experience watching this. With a story that is both a large, blockbuster event full of tons of fan service, and a personal, character-driven experience that serves to say goodbye to favorites, I'd really recommend it. I mean, sure, this is largely preaching to the choir, so I wouldn't exactly recommend for a non-fan or semi-fan to sit through the 3-hour runtime, but if you have been a hardcore fan of the MCU films up to now, then I'm sure that not only will you have fun with this, but it will be an epic conclusion that you will be remembering for some time to come. But hey, that's just my opinion. And remember, don't take anything I say too seriously. After all, I'm just a wannabe reviewer. Thanks for watching.